Pretty good. Hey, Sean, and welcome everybody else to our PitchIT series here at Central Mafia. How's it going, Sean?
Hey, Adam. Good to see you, buddy. I'm glad you delayed and forgot where you were for a minute. Like, welcome to the PitchIT series. Where am I? Yeah. Not on vacation anymore.
You did recognize that. Yes, exactly. Welcome back to you. It's been 3 weeks.
Yeah, for us, yes. Since we've been 3 weeks since we've been together last, yes.
Yeah. So what's transpired over the past couple of weeks?
Oh, dear Lord, really? So obviously my tour of Europe is complete, which was phenomenal, but that's not what we're here for. Nope. What's transpired here is that we are in the last couple weeks here of the 16 weeks, right? A few weeks left of this, and the preliminaries and the Battle Royale will be taking place very soon here, actually. And I don't know if Sam hasn't given you a link. I'm sure I'll be happy to give you the link right now so you can post it on there. Tomorrow, Matt Solomon and myself will be doing the live draft on the order of pitches with the channel program for the Battle Royale.
Ooh, that'd be awesome. So if people haven't joined us for the past couple months, Sean, tell us a little bit about what PitchIT is.
All right, you know what? You said past couple months, but let's be honest. If you haven't been around for the past couple years, actually, this is our 8th year doing this, but this is our 5th. What PitchIT is, it's a Shark Tank-like competition for startup vendors in the MSP space. They are all going through a 16-week accelerated incubator program right now, but they're all trying to become, when we go to the Battle Royale, they are trying to become one of the 3 finalists after they do those pitches. Those 3 finalists will compete live on stage in November at IT Nation Connect Global. And they are all playing and competing for prizes of up over $150,000 for between cash and prizes.
Pretty awesome. Okay. All right. And so, so big stage is coming up here soon. You're doing the whole selection of how they go. Yeah. Live stream. When is the actual live stream 5-minute pitch starting?
There's 3 different dates because we have 20 people. We have 20 vendors involved. So we do a chunk each day for 3 days. Don't get me the lie, and I forget the exact dates, but it's mid-August. And Sam, send it over so we can post that.
Yeah, we'll get those posted. So fantastic. So this week we get another contestant. We only have one this week, so I want to bring on Anson with QuellSecure. Anson, how you doing?
I'm great. Happy to be here. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. Glad you're here, man. And it's just another Tuesday, midsummer. Kids are probably running around your house. You're like, I'm ready for them to get back to school.
Are you like narrating his life for him?
Yeah, I am.
You're
I imagine every parent's like, yeah, get the kids back to school so I can have parent time.
That's I think okay, so let's talk a little about you. So other than you want your kids to leave, tell us a little bit about you and what you guys do.
Sure. So I'm an electrical engineer by training, and then kind of the circuitous route of through firmware into software. As mentioned, I have an engineer in training at home. She's almost 4, so she doesn't have her own computer yet, but we'll get there one of these days. She and I enjoyed watching the World Cup, even though she would ask me who I was rooting for, specifically so that she could root for the other team, which I think is great.
Good kid.
And then, or if somebody was already winning when we tuned in, that was the team she was rooting for, and then I was supposed to root for the other one.
So she only backs winners. That's a good pick.
Hey, it's smart at a young age. I'll take it. And then, so my last job was engineering and managing the back end of an attack surface management tool. which did kind of like black box reconnaissance of the perimeter, highlight the weaknesses, and teed up automated red teaming. And so that's kind of how I got into cybersecurity, and got deep in that, but very much through the lens of the attacker. And so one of those, the most potent lessons along the way there is kind of seeing the attacker's perspective, and kind of applying that to the defensive side, because attackers don't see the world the same way that the defenders do. And the better we all understand that, the more we can kind of stay one step ahead.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Which brings me to QuellSecure.
That's the question.
That was literally my next question. Tell us. Okay, so QuellSecure. What is QuellSecure?
So simply put, QuellSecure is a ransomware containment product. And kind of we started with the premise that I learned doing kind of being red team adjacent and seeing the attacker's perspective. A determined attacker with time and resources will succeed. It's just the nature of what they do. They're good at their job. And if they have an unlimited amount of time to try, they'll get through. And I think we've kind of been seeing that, like specifically in the context of ransomware. Like ransomware's been around for 20 years. There's a lot of progress to celebrate, that's for sure. But it still induces downtime at organizations to get extortion leverage all the time. We see that in the news. And it's probably going to get worse before it gets better, because of the whole AI powered this and that, vulnerability discovery, exploit weaponization. And so QuellSecure is about being a solution for not only the ransomware that we've seen before, but the ransomware of tomorrow, and very focused on that kind of existential threat of business continuity. Because nobody can tolerate extended downtime, especially if you're a regulated industry like healthcare, where it's not, downtime isn't measured in revenue loss, it's measured in patient outcomes.
Right.
Other industries like that.
Well, I would imagine every industry has that issue, not patients necessarily, but like even like I think of the financial services. I mean, that turns into, there's a multiplier in that.
Yeah.
You know? So now question, you said current and future. So how do you prepare for future ones with your product? Is there a specific thing that has to happen, or is it just all one size fits all in this case?
Well, that's kind of the nature of our operation. So our secret sauce is we have a patented algorithm that is better at identifying malicious encryption as it happens. And so the effect of that, the way we do it is, our worldview is very small. We're only really looking at one thing: malicious encryption of files. And so when an attacker is trying to get through and damage you and disrupt your business continuity to get the leverage, right, they're finding a weak point at the perimeter. They are getting in. They are moving laterally. They are privilege escalating all the way down until they finally launch the attack. There are a lot of tools that defend against a lot of those things, but we only look for one thing: the malicious encryption. So we sit right at the end of the kill chain, right before an attack turns into mass damage. And that's when we kick in, because the problem that I think everybody's feeling, especially more and more as we talk about continuity and resilience, is that we've seen this. Like even the best recovery plans and backups can't guarantee you bounce back in minutes or hours. Like when we see high-profile organizations in the news that have the resources, they have the best tools, they have the best recovery plans, they have the best backups, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they still get hit. They still go down for days or weeks. And so if that's your primary concern, that continuity, like you need a tool that has the explicit goal of containing the damage and making sure business never stops.
Fair. One other question then on this too, with the whole AI aspect to this now, and the vibe coding and the God knows what else, right? You hear every horror story, right? Aside from like the T2 Terminator coming in to kill people, like how does this really work in regards to that? Like, because it is a major question. They assume with AI that attacks will increase tenfold, right? So how do you guys, again, algorithm and everything else all aside, are you guys able to maintain that? That's the question they're all going to have.
Yeah, I think there's kind of two parts to that answer. One part is, a very wise red teamer told me once, attackers are loath to change something that works. And so when they innovate, all of the AI stuff, I think is going to innovate first at the vulnerability discovery, exploit leverage, or exploit weaponization, and then finally like using agents to do attacks in an automated, at high scale, and basically lower the bar of entry. so that $20 and willingness to commit a felony is enough to do ransomware these days.
Yep, absolutely.
And so, that's very scary. But they also, at the end of the day, all the final payload that does the malicious encryption is doing is encrypting and not telling you the password. And so because of where we sit, a lot of the innovation that's going to happen and the vuln-apocalypse that everybody's kind of bleeding about is going to happen, but it's kind of happening outside of our worldview, right? The actual encryptor itself, there's only so many ways to encrypt files. We have this analogy. We're like, there's only so many ways to cook an egg, right? And once you're aware of the few ways that you can cook an egg, it doesn't matter if you add, cheese or onions or ham to the omelet. Right. It's still an omelet. And so that's very much our competitive advantage against ransomware is they can do whatever they want, but it's still an omelet at the end of the day.
You're addressing the core, not the...
Exactly. Right. And because the worldview is so small, we can be purpose specific, we can be efficient, we can be easy, we can be simple, we can be low noise, we can be all of the things that MSPs want out of their tools without creating, a huge burden.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about PitchIT, shift the subject a little bit. So I'm just curious how you found PitchIT and, what was the kind of reasoning for applying?
So PitchIT, I just generally like competitions. I think they make you stronger by forcing you to try hard to defeat either, whether it's competition or, like in some sports, it's like defeating the course or yourself and just in self-improvement. And so we've learned a lot about ourselves from going through things like this and meeting the MSP community through things like PitchIT. And so that's, I think, the biggest benefit we get from something like PitchIT.
Nice. Okay. And so what's been the biggest shift for you inside PitchIT?
Shift in what sense? Of like how we think about ourselves?
How you think about your solution and the problems that the MSPs face and how you
approach the market, everything.
Marketing,
yeah.
like
Sure,
what
yeah.
shift?
So I think one of the biggest shifts is kind of with better understanding through the deliberate act of competing, trying to really get in the head of the MSP and understand what are they looking for. Like, for example, I think we kind of came into some of these things thinking that MSPs are asking, does this work for my clients? Right. And that's a good question and is an important question. But I think it's also table stakes. Like they're expecting the tools that they use to do that. The more interesting question is, does this help my number? Does this help my business? And so one of the shifts that we've had is it's, the product has to do what the product does, and it's great at that. But it's really about how can we optimize ourselves, like Quell as the business, to integrate and partner with our MSP partners, both from a selling and operational perspective, because a tool that you can't use or integrate it could be the best tool in the world, but it won't help you because you can't use it.
Yeah.
And we can get into that, but that's a very big problem in cybersecurity that we're also trying to solve.
I like that thought. I like that you guys came to terms with it. And I think the hardest lesson for a lot of vendors, they're trying to worry about the end users, which I agree with. You're building this for this, but your first customer really is the MSP. They're your real end user. In every way, shape, and form, because if they don't understand and they don't get anything and it doesn't benefit them and it's not in their cogs, right? Because that's what they're talking about. Hey, my cogs, how do they look? Then you're not really satisfying it, because the technology could be great and all, but the main questions are always the same. How much is it going to cost me? How much time is it going to take me? Is it going to benefit me?
Couldn't agree more. And I think one of the easiest examples of that is like the noise and alert fatigue, right? And that's an issue with a tool, but it can be tolerable or it can be overcome. But when you think about it from the MSP's perspective, like a noisy tool fundamentally affects the unit economics of that tool and delivering the service that's associated with the product. So again, could be the best product in the world, but if it's going to drown the MSP in busy work and toil, then what was the point?
Yeah.
And defeating that is trickier than you'd think. I mean, Quell has a natural advantage because our worldview is so small and our tool only does one thing and it does it really well. So it makes sense that as tools get more complicated and integrate with lots of different things, they have to solve that problem. And some of them do, and some of them don't.
Yeah. And so let's talk about that a little bit. Speaking to the MSP owners out there, there's tons of security offerings out there, tons. And so what is your superpower, your genius zone that you work on within QuellSecure? What is it and makes it different as well?
I think let me answer this guy by I think posing the unique challenge that I see for the MSP,
Okay.
which is the MSP has the goal of, in the sense of cybersecurity, it's protect my client from the worst case scenario, the damage, the outage, the whatever. But they're also not totally in control of that outcome, because I can recommend to a client that they do something, but that doesn't mean that they will do it. But who's still responsible at the end of the day? Right? The MSP. And I think it's just such a difficult position to be in. And so that's why we're trying to help the MSP meet the demands of their clients in that sense. Because like, it all comes back to that same thing. A tool that you can use is better than one that you can't. And so in ransomware situation, like, which is kind of the worst case scenario, because it can be an extinction event, especially for smaller businesses. There aren't a lot of solutions out there that kind of fit all sizes. And so I think that's one other challenge that we're really eager to solve is, and we kind of have this goal internally that if a one person IT shop can use Quell effectively, then so can the Fortune 500. So solve the hardest problem first, and then everything else will scale. Do a good thing in a good way, good things will follow.
So the product
question.
So the product, the offering can support it's a one size fits all. Not one size fits all, I should say that, but it can support every single user of every level, company, whatever, right? However, is it price sensitive then to this as well? Because that's always a question. If you're smaller, are you paying more than your buyer? You know what I mean? Per unit, per license, per seat, per whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we price per endpoint, but we also we have a no minimums policy. Like we'll talk to anybody, because ransomware doesn't discriminate, and so neither should we. If our goal is to solve that problem, ransomware is going to hit an ice cream shop if they think that they can extract a ransom payment from them, equally as they'll hit the Fortune 50.
Mm-hmm.
And so we try to make it a low cost offering, and for our MSPs, we don't publish the price publicly, but lower than you'd think is the typical reaction we get when we tell people.
Yeah. Okay. So back to PitchIT just a little bit. Like, you're preparing for the final pitch. You have 5 minutes. I'm just, what part of that are you most concerned about? Like, what are you doing to prepare for that over the next few weeks?
For the actual, for the final pitch itself, I think it kind of gets back to a previous point. Like the product and the technical capability of our product and any product is usually cool, but that's kind of table stakes and won't win the contest.
Yeah.
Right. I think what we really want to show is that partnering with Quell is low friction, revenue generating, and solves a problem that clients actually want solved, which is, and I'm sure people, the MSPs out there are hearing this more and more, is what do we do to protect business continuity in the face of AI powered and the increasing likelihood of a ransomware attack that gets through?
Yeah,
that's fair.
And so really optimizing around not so much the just what does it do and is it neat, but how can I use this, right? And that it's both easy to use and implement, but also moves the needle for the MSP as a business. So kind of that subtle shift.
Exactly. It's good shift.
And it's an important one.
Very, very much so.
So you think you can fit all that into 5 minutes?
Well, my partner in crime, CEO and co-founder Omar, will probably help with some of that. But yeah, that's also one of the significant benefits of doing one thing and doing it really well, is it only takes a few minutes to describe what we do, how we do it. And then the benefit is self-evident, because obviously having less damage done to your files is better than more damage.
Really?
And so it's a classic blast radius argument, right? The smaller the blast radius, the easier it is to recover. And everybody has the backup and resilience tools, but using them while the building is on fire is usually harder than people think. Tabletop exercises are great, but it isn't going to go that way in the real world. And experience as red teamer and being adjacent to that proves that time and time again. No matter everybody has a plan till they get punched in the mouth. Right? There's a million phrases and sayings around this.
Okay, so you said something. What you just said there, it's easy to talk about. technically almost every company is easy to talk about. It can be done in 5 minutes, but people still struggle, right? So, and this is, and the struggle is typically because you want to talk about your recent feature launch, or your look at all this cool stuff we do, because you're excited, but you've been in it. How are you going to keep yourself from getting down that rabbit hole? I mean, you said Omar, literally, how do you plan on preparing for this to be, and I promise you this much, if you plan and talk for 5 minutes for your practice, you'll run over time. You'll be 6 minutes when you do it. Facts.
Yep. I don't know. I think it's all about really staying tight, because at the end of the day, another thing that we believe as a small company, kind of still ramping up into big growth, is that you can really only focus on one problem at a time. And so if you try to do too much, like it's almost self-defeating. If your pitch takes longer than 5 minutes, you have a different problem that's kind of more fundamental than that the pitch takes longer than 5 minutes. Right. And I think, again, the smaller you are, the easier it should be to just like, okay, what does Quell do? We do ransomware containment, because you'd rather have fewer files get encrypted under attack than more. Right?
So, okay,
fair. What it's all about.
Fine. So now you've told me how you're going to master everything. Tell me, when it comes down to it, you have like real competitors out there too, that are like your company has competition. What's some differentiators for you?
Some of our competitors are doing, I would say, things that are philosophically similar, but have technical differences in the way that they do them. And so our calling card and our biggest differentiator is ultimately the lightweight ease of use. Like we have developed an algorithm that does this specific problem of identifying malicious encryption. And to do that, we don't need a complex behavioral engine. We don't need to sit on the endpoint and be heavy. And so all of those things, combined with a deliberate focus on designing to be easy to use and simple, means that we can go down market a lot further, all the way to no minimums. Right. And I think that's something that's very hard for a lot of cybersecurity companies and tools to wrap their head around, is what is the smallest customer you can effectively service. And so I'm sure there's a lot of MSPs out there that have had this experience where they're like, hey, this is a neat product. Like, can we talk about it? And they say, okay, well, how many endpoints do you have? And then they hang up on you, right? And we're trying very hard not to be that way. And I think that in and of itself is a huge differentiator.
Nice. Okay, so on the PitchIT side of things, you applied to PitchIT. You're in it for now. It's been almost 3 months, 2 months.
Whatever you call it.
2 months. What surprised you so far?
That's a great question.
Don't hold back. Slow down. Don't hold back.
I mean, we kind of touched on this already. It's a lot of the more you meet the customers, the more you meet the MSPs, kind of the more you learn. One thing that's sort of it's kind of funny because it's a lesson that I've already learned in the past, but it's a classic software problem. The little things matter the most. And similar to where at the beginning we were talking about how like competition kind of hardens you, and this is one of those ways. Like even knowing that it's difficult to anticipate the little things that matter the most, it wasn't until we got deep with our first few partners that we realized some of the specific things, even small feature requests, that are the difference between a product being completely unusable or impractical and, oh wow, that was great. Like, and that, oh wow, is such a good feeling when you could get it. And so again, even though it's a classic problem of like littlest things matter the most, we've still had a couple feature requests that we look at and we're like, man, it was so obvious. We should have known that and anticipated it. But I think it also really highlights the value of kind of putting, no matter what you want to do or what you think is the best way, kind of taking that, the arrogance, I guess, and putting it to the side. Like, and a lot of companies, I think, make this mistake of, if I build it, they will come. And so we kind of rejected that early, and it's all about like getting in there with the partners and really working toward that, understanding their need. And then again, it shouldn't have been surprising, because we should have known that, but it was still surprising that, oh wow, actually, you gotta you got to meet them where they are. Otherwise, nobody's going to show up and, call you and say, hello, I would like to purchase your software, especially not as a small company. Like that happens later when you've been successful and everybody recognizes your brand and the value. But in the beginning, when you're grinding, you gotta put that to the side and kind of meet people.
I agree completely with that all too. I think if you become, it's kind of like if you become the most important person around or popular, you're popular because you did something of value. People come to you and talk to you about it. That's the goal. So how do you become popular? That's by you consistently fulfilling and maintaining your obligations. And marketing everywhere too. You have to market everywhere. I think people can understand that.
I'm learning that lesson. The engineer, they didn't teach me that in electrical engineering school, but
that's weird. No,
day over day.
Nice.
That's weird.
So, so as we begin to wrap, so one last question for you: if you could speak directly to the MSP owners watching right now, what is one practical step you would, have them do or have them understand about what it takes to secure, have a security offering or, build out their security practice if they don't have one today? So what's one step maybe?
Towards improving their cybersecurity program. I mean, the easy answer is get Quell, but I won't offer that as my formal answer to the question. I think one thing that I'd like to see people kind of always be asking themselves, whether they're an MSP or just like business in general, is which tools and processes do I tolerate and which feel efficient and useful? Because it's very easy to kind of get trapped in doing the same things because it's the thing you've been doing. And so that's why PitchIT's great, because you kind of, by seeing a lot more of what's out there in the thought leadership and people like me who are trying to come up with new and better ways to do it, you then get to kind of survey everything and ask the question, okay, what do I do that I like, don't like, efficient, not efficient? And then critically, why do I like that? Why do I tolerate that even though I don't like it? Because those are the questions that ultimately I think will reveal hey, if I make this small tweak or this, maybe it's a bigger tweak or a larger effort, but the outcome will fall out on the other side. And that's what all about being on the front foot is about. And so everybody, it's easy to kind of just like go through the motions, I think. But again, that's why new companies PitchIT as a competition are important, because they're just stirring the pot is so important.
Yeah.
To always be asking those questions of yourself.
Awesome. I mean, that was well said. That was a very thoughtful response, because, it's just, what do you tolerate and what do you're good at, right? Like what is, I like that. So cool. Well, it's really great meeting you and understanding a little bit about QuellSecure and get to know you a bit. Definitely check out, I'll throw the banner up there again, QuellSecure.com. And Sean, it's been awesome. Closing thoughts here, Sean?
I don't know that I can say, Anson hasn't already said, so good luck. Make sure your pitch is about 3.5 to 4 minutes when you practice, because when you jack shit up, you're only another minute to recover. Anybody that's paying attention to this, everybody should be paying attention, especially vendors. They're trying to figure out how to do these things. You should check out this once we do the channel program the next few weeks, which we'll get the dates out there. Don't worry, we'll tag it to this. Well, actually, on this post, you'll see the dates for it and the link for everything. Make sure you all tune in tomorrow to see where people place and when they'll pitch, so you can follow your favorite friend. I say friend because I don't know that we're like, I'm looking at like Adam's Coors hat. I'm like, nobody's getting sponsored by NASCAR. So,
or Red Bull.
Or Red Bull. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's all I have, man.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you guys. So thanks everybody for joining us live. Thanks for the comments on here. Check it out, centralmafiaug.com and all of our social media posts, and you can watch this replay, ask questions, engage. We love working with the community and being inside the community, and love to hear from you. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Peace out. Enjoy you. See you next week. Merry